everybody up for Devisode 2. So
Welcome.
I don't know how. Welcome. I don't know if anybody was here in the first episode, but we are your friendly developer advocates from TomTom. You might know us from social media, or if you watch the first Devisode, which is our fancy term for developer episodes. Devisodes.
Devisodes.
I didn't come up with it, but it's amazing. We want to do a little intro slide. If somebody has sound trouble or anything like that, let us know in the chat. But this is a little bit about us. If you're watching on mute or something like that, I don't know. But I'm Olivia. You can always find me writing about privacy. Everybody in the office knows me as a huge privacy nerd. I also love developing in Python and iOS and used to do UX. And I also used to code in assembly, which is hopefully nobody ever has to code in assembly. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but it can be fun. I don't know if you're
did that
strange
once.
like me. You did?
Yeah.
You used to code in assembly?
Yeah.
I kind of find it strangely satifying.
No, this gray hair is not for ornament.
It's from assembly. It's from if my
Yeah, it was fun.
and Jose.
Hello. So yeah, you know that I am mostly an Android developer, but I also like to tinker around with JavaScript a little bit. I really like to code. I've been doing it for many years already, and you can find me always trying to create some little games here, little games there. And I like everything that is electrical scooters, electrical motorcycles. I'm saving for getting my electric vehicle soon.
I can always find Jose modifying his scooter, and I can't wait to see it again whenever I'm actually allowed to go back to Amsterdam. I don't know when that's going to be, but the scooter.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Yes.
I'm also going to Amsterdam.
I will take you on a ride this time.
So now you know who we are. We want to talk about what we'll be doing. So last time we did sort of a basic quick map display recap, and we added in some fuzzy search, and we created a dev account with an API key. I'm actually going to paste the API key in the chat also.
Yes.
This is the API key that you can use. And again, I'll keep posting throughout the chat if anybody asks for it. But like last time, we're going to do a quick recap of displaying the map, but we'll be covering adding routes that take place now, like leaving immediately. You can schedule routes for later. We'll talk about reachable range, which we'll start with easy stuff like adding markers to a route, which we touched on last time. We'll talk about we'll talk about the consumption models and how that plays into reachable range for EVs and for gas-powered cars, and the fun stuff to really just get your directions, APIs type stuff up and running. It's easier if you have a developer account already because you can take it offline much more easily. You can have your own API key. You don't have to use ours, and so on. And
good.
Yeah.
So I think I wonder if I can jump a little bit into what we did last time before going to the routing parameters.
Yeah, let's do that actually. We're going to do a quick recap of how to just display a simple map. Since we're new to Twitch, and we don't know if everybody watched the last episode, but we want to do that too.
Right. So in our last episode, we ended up with just displaying a simple map. In this case, I think it was Lisboa. And what we did, we were using the search API to find something in the area that we have selected.
Displaying basic POIs within a bounding box.
Yeah, let's check if it still works. That's the order.
Does it still work? A lottery.
Coffee, yes. And
Coffee,
click me. Yes. Okay, we found out. What we did is actually make a fuzzy search, and with the result, we get the first result and just move the map to that location and create a map. Yep. So what we're going to do today, I think, is...
Well, if you remember from last time, we tried to find my house. Or you tried to guess where my house was, which we won't do second time, but we went around Austin, Texas.
That was a long time.
Find my house. But it feels like a long time ago. But it's really easy to search POIs and to put in different inputs and get a sense for what's around. And even if you go to different countries and seeing how the POI relates over into different languages and things like that is fun to see. So even though we're in Lisbon, you can see different types of POIs, and even if you're searching in English or you're searching different languages, how it works.
Yeah. So what I want to do now is being able to detect when we click on the map and maybe add a marker.
Yeah.
So I think
we want to go talk about some routing params just real quick.
All right.
So people get a sense. Unless you want to do some adding markers first.
No. Go ahead. Let's do that.
Let's do some adding some route params. So I like to kind of go through route params from the documentation before we do something, because if you're wanting to tinker around on your own while we're doing this and you're just sort of watching the stream in the background, this is sort of the quick spark notes on, what powers routing. So you have different route types, right? Because route type has a fastest, shortest, eco, and thrilling, and fastest and shortest are not always the same, right? Sometimes by the distance or by traffic and things like that. And you can also set the level of hilliness and windiness you include in the route you want to generate. If you want to avoid hilly areas, we want to avoid really winding roads because those also affect different types of routing, right? You consume more fuel if you're on a very hilly or winding street. You have a lot of speed fluctuations, which all plays into sort of routing as a bigger picture. We'll talk about different travel modes. Of course, most of this and reachable range will all involve cars and EVs, but car, size, modes of transportation. We'll probably also talk about pedestrian routing because all of these really flow onto the normal street and they have different routing needs. Buses and things like that make a lot of different stops or have regular routes regardless of traffic, and they require more fuel consumption because they're going through congested areas. Taxis make a lot of different stops and have different routing waypoints and have a lot of different stops and pickup points in frequented areas, whereas bicycles and pedestrians are really going alongside the traffic and require different types of routes. And they don't necessarily burn fuel, obviously. So they have different types of route consumption model here. But the first thing and the easiest thing we're going to do is adding markers to a map that you already display, which is sort of the very basics of what routing means and just waypoint finding.
Correct. So let's see if so let's open the code. Let's have some code.
Let's have some code.
Let's do some coding. Originally, this was the initial file that we did last time. I think it's still there.
Yeah.
And what I really want to do is let's add it here because I think it's easier for me. Probably here. Let's see. Let's detect a click on the map. Easy.
So it's a JS function that allows the map to detect clicks at the center, so where you place the marker, because you have to get the lat and long from wherever the click is placed, right?
Yeah, correct. So,
and we'll probably print out the lat and long so that we can show it retrieving too.
Oh, we can do that, of course.
Yeah, we can print it out either at some point and see how the click works.
Okay, got it. So what we want to do on this, because console, let's log whatever we click.
Yeah.
We can see the event that we get, for example. I'm sure it will be the click event, and inside of it, it will have the long and lat object that we need. And we can do that right now. Let's see. Let's reload. I'm going to add this here. Let's see the console. Let's see. I click here. Every time I click, if you can see the console, we get an object. This is the event object, and we see that it has a lat and long location here.
Yeah, and that's basically the function that's detecting every single click and just logging the lat and long out, so that we can see that we're actually registering the different clicks. And so we know that when we click on the map and we want to place a marker, we know, oh, it's actually being placed, we're actually getting the lat and long back.
Correct. So let's see. I know where the long and lat object is. We can add a marker. Let's call it marker. Last time we created markers, we used the PP marker object, I think it was called. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, it will give me an error if it's like a mistake.
Don't worry, we
will get it. We'll figure it out.
You'll always have errors.
Yes. So let's say I'm gonna set long and lat to the event that I got. I think the object was called long and lat, if I'm not mistaken. Wait, it's actually lat. So, and at the end, we're going to add it to the map. And that's it. Let's see how this goes.
That's it.
What it's supposed to be doing, that every time I click, we don't add it to the map. First. Yes, I knew I had to put something extra. Wait.
What did you forget?
Well, we added it to the map on click. We have the map. Add to the map. Well, it says it's a strange. First, did we actually add in our SDKs the SDKs actually? It's very important to add the SDK for this.
Yeah, and we also want to update to the most recent version. A lot of some of the older tutorials run 4. We want to make sure we're running 5.5.
Yeah, I think we need to add. We are adding the map CSS. That's it. Guys, should be fine. Should be fine. Let me just double click here.
It always looks fine. Everything always looks fine. That's a beautiful part of coding. You think, I'm a coding god. I know exactly what it is.
Yes.
But it's always things like markers.
It's always a figure. Let me check this out again. Do you actually do the click here? Let me just quickly double click here. Make sure that I'm actually doing correctly.
And what we're doing here is we're also just adding a basic marker. We're not adding a custom marker because adding a custom marker is a much longer process. So this is just adding like the basic TomTom marker that is part of the style. And we're going ahead and deciding where to add different clicks just to basically get a setup of a routing. And if you're just joining, what we're doing is, again, we're doing just a basic add a marker at a given lat long. Because the basis of this is having 2 markers which actually generate a route. Like once we add 2 markers, or 3 markers, or 5 markers, or 6 markers, you can generate a route. But that's what the basic marker looks like. It just has a little flag. And you can change it, of course. We have a bunch of ways you can go ahead and do that, but we just do the basic marker for now because it's the easiest way to go ahead and start routing. You can place different stops, and if you wanted to be creative, you could probably go ahead and find what's there, all these different things.
Yeah. What I forgot is to reload the map, to reload the application. That was a forgot.
You gotta reload the map. I thought you reloaded the map. Oh my lord.
Yeah.
Well, the map doesn't reload itself.
No. So what I want to
innovation.
Do, yes. What I want to do is actually collect all the markers together. So because we might be able to later to remove them from the map, for example. And if we're going to create a route, like what we want to show today is we better save this somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So let's see.
When I was first building maps, I remember the one really annoying thing that I didn't learn from using sort of like open source for maps is that how to remove the markers, and that gets really crowded really quickly. If you're wanting to sort of redo your routing or change your route and the markers don't get removed, you have a real pain really fast. So we'll show you how to do that so that you don't do what I did. I don't recommend it.
Yeah. Let's say we can create an array of markers. Let's see at the beginning is empty. And every time we click on the marker, we say markers, let's add it to the array.
That way we have our markers organized.
Yes, this like here. Good. So we have marker organized. Now that we have the marker, so let's see if we can create a button to delete them.
Yes, a delete button.
Yeah.
Possibly the most useful thing in the known universe.
Let's see, let's actually here. We can add, let's copy this. Let's call it clear markers, for example. What we do is clear markers. So whenever we click this button, it will call the function clear markers, and this is what we're going to do to clear the markers.
And then we just clear out.
Yeah, we have to call the function. One of the functions is clear markers. And let's see. We can iterate for the markers, right? Markers. Let's marker remove. So for each one, we set to remove the self.
So we just remove all the markers in the array. It's very simple.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget. Wait, I have to also.
I have to actually remove the marker after you iterate through the markers.
And just delete the array.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. So we don't rewrite ourselves.
Yeah. So it's called clear markers. Clear markers.
Yes.
Plural.
Clear markers.
Clear markers. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's see. So we're gonna add markers here, and let's say clear markers. Bye bye. Clear markers here. Bye bye. Very good.
Bye bye markers.
Bye bye.
So that way you can redo all of your routes all of your waypoints and start over. It won't remove one marker though, it just removes all of them, it just clears the array.
Yes, yes. So what we want to do now is maybe create another button where we perform the create me a route. How about that?
Because I think we should do that. I think it's time to actually go from point A to point B.
Got it. So let's add it. Let's add a new button.
And so then automatically when you click the second marker, we'll be drawing a route.
No. How about this? You can have more than one markers. Let's do.
You can have different stops though, but will we add it in
like
the same
waypoints?
order?
Let's see. Okay.
Well, waypoints.
Yeah. So let's see. Let's make a button to create a route.
Because that way we can set how many stops we have.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
Let's create a route. All right. So I'm going to create this function. Let's put it at the bottom here.
This is a fun time to note, I think, probably what the routing actually does. So the routing isn't, I feel like when you go through any type of CS college or you go through boot camp or something, you get sort of a primer on routing. And routing obviously can take a bunch of different ways in terms of pathfinding, right? So when we route, we use an A-star algorithm, which is the shortest spanning tree algorithm that probably everybody's heard of. It's probably the most commonly used, but it's different in the sense that it's one of the greedy wayfinding algorithms. Like the Dijkstra algorithm is a subset of A-star. And what basically happens is that other algorithms are like less linear in the route assembly because they don't necessarily take into account a start point, right? A spanning algorithm that's not Dijkstra based or A-star based will actually just take all of the separate segments, whichever shortest is first, but irregardless of your start point. To route, you actually need to have a specific start point, which is not the same as just creating a minimal spanning tree and picking whatever segment, because that would be the routing equivalent of actually just starting on your least trafficked street and then driving to the next least trafficked street, and then eventually maybe getting to your destination, which everybody would hate.
Yeah.
Hate us if we did that. You actually have to have a start point, which means that necessarily the street that you need to drive on is not the most optimal, but you find the next most optimal segment of your route and go from there, which is a 30-second primer on spanning trees from maps. If you're into math, that's what's actually going on.
I thought you were going to mention the Dijkstra algorithm and the A-star algorithm in the creating routes.
I did. No, I was talking about A-star and Dijkstra is the subset, and A-star is different because we always find the most optimal route from where we're starting from.
Correct.
Not Kruskal, because Kruskal, for example, will just take the lowest weight segment and just start from there, which is not where we want to start from. We want to start from point A.
A, B, basic. Let's start the basics. So, when we want to create a route, we need to do two things. First, we have to send the options, create the route options. We have to tell them, okay, this is A, this is B, this is C, etc. We have to tell them, okay, this is my API key, or we're going to start at this time, or this is the configuration of my car, let's say, or I'm going to gasoline, I'm going to electric. So the first thing we have to create is the routing options. I'm going to create a very simple routing options here. Let me see, I'll call it route options. It's a JSON object, of course. Let me scroll this hard here, a bit more visible. And the first thing we're going to do is to add with each API key. In order to use the route, that should be upstairs, up there here. Copy API key. Okay. And we're going to add a locations. This is usually an array. Actually, it is an array. Array the lat and longs or long lats connected to create the route that we need. And
it's long or long lat, because sometimes it's long lat.
Well, it depends. The object can be defined as a JSON object which have the long and latitude, or if you have an array, the first element is a long, the second element is a lat.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always a fun part.
This is the only thing that you need for the route options, because you only by default we have creating a route with an automobile, a car, and by default we already starting from now. From the moment you want to start. Let's try see.
You can change routes to start later, to leave in the future, like at a regular commute time, but right now we're just creating routes leaving now.
Yes. And I want to confirm that the function is called actually services calculate route, and a quick visit to the developer portal will confirm that for me in the routing API. The routing API calculate route is the name of the endpoint of the API. It's correct. Calculate route, and we can go back to the code. So I can continue. So we have to calculate route in, and the only thing that I have to send them is the route options. Those options, and as usually in the APIs, JavaScript APIs, we get usually a promise. So that means please go execute, and when we get the promise back, then let's get a function in there, and that function provide a response, and that response is what we're going to let's display for now.
Yeah. Let's display
the route data to see how it looks like. About that. Now
let's get all the route data.
And as you can see, it's very simple. It's one single two line of code, but you will notice that the route options here, the locations, is empty. There are no locations. We have to set. We have to pass the location from the markers that we have already created.
That's what actually makes the markers become your actual points within the route.
Correct. So let's say a marker of all the.
They don't get passed in. They don't exist.
Yeah. For all the markers, and we added route options, locations, and we're going to push in that array the marker, which I think is get long and lat object. So we take all the markers that we have already created, we take the long and lats for each one of them, we add them to the array, and execute the code.
And that's what basically create a route from just the lat longs that we retrieved back from the data we generated when we clicked on the map and added the marker in the first place.
Correct. So let's see how it goes. So let's say I click here in Lisboa from here and from point B, and I say create the route, cross fingers, and voila, we have something in the console which we decide to print, and you can see here the route, and we
get a route.
We get a route.
There we go.
We have a summary. This is the length in meters, and how many seconds will it go, and the sections, which is the geometrical shape of the route.
Yeah, so we receive the geometrical layer, right? And that's what ends up getting displayed on the map itself when we show the route. And also, we accept whether you say route or route. I always say, I don't know whether I say route or route anymore. Sometimes Jose says route and I say route. I don't really know what's going on, but then I hear Jose and I mimic it, and then I say route, and then I don't know. So I think that's US or British. But that's what happens. We don't really know.
We don't know.
Huh?
We are routing company.
We don't know how to say it.
We are routing.
Are we routing company or routing?
No.
We root for you during the routing. I'm not sure.
Okay, so if we have the route, I have something interesting here is that the route data that come from the result, when it's a correct one, I have no errors. There is a function very cool that called GeoJSON. So if you are familiar, let's go back to the map. You're familiar to the to our new web SDK for web. It's based on OpenGL LS, I think. Small API, yeah. And that's
why you'll see certain errors sometimes with that, but that's where it's coming from.
It's all physical layers. Physical layers. Well, what is this?
The geometric layers.
Geometrical layers.
Geometric layers that we bring up during routing.
Correct. So we can add a new layer, which will be the route. And route. In GeoJSON format, which is right here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert this route data into a GeoJSON. Let's call it Geo, for example.
Oh no, and now I have Geo or Geo? It's going to be a continual battle.
Yeah, another one. We need I would not go there. It's a GeoJSON. GeoJSON, and then we can, let's say, you know what, add this GeoJSON as a new layer in the map. So I'm not going to do it right here. I'm going to be more, let's say, nice. I'm going to make a function. New function, display the root, and I will pass this geo. That's it. So we're going to create that function somewhere else. So.
And then we'll actually see the routing data
somewhere
visualized.
else. So let's call it here. Display root. Oops, sorry, I missed it. So
I see.
We're passing the geo, right? Geo. It's GeoJSON. Okay, and we are going to add a new layer. So let's call it the root layer and map. Let's add the layer.
And then we actually add the layer back to the map so that we see it.
Correct.
On the page when we reload.
In order to do this, I have to explain that, we have to have a layer, the layer format of the SDK, and it's a lot of code that I think I have it somewhere copied it because I always forget somewhere to add the parameters. I know that, okay, here's a layer, and the layer is just a JSON object, of course, that we're going to add, and the first thing that we need is the ID of the layer. Call it root, the very simple one, and line. Oh, oops. It's kind of difficult looking at the screen and the camera.
Yeah.
I'm typing a little bit.
It's keeping eye contact.
Yeah, the type is line, and I know that when you say I want to add the source of this layer is a JSON object that I know looks like this. I'm gonna copy it here because before I forget. So in the source type GeoJSON, because we converted the raw data into GeoJSON format and we pass the data as GeoJSON. Now, I don't think that is enough because
we won't necessarily display all the fields, right? Because we had different like depart at and arrive at times and things like that were calculated in the now. And so we're taking some of the data and we're adding it as a layer, but not all of it is going to be represented out. We're not just dumping it out the same way we're doing like a console log. We're actually formatting it so that we have the route segments that are displayed from point A to point B. But there's other data that comes with that you can build in on top of that, right, into your own format.
Let me remember, it's a line. You can have a line, so a line has a line color and a line width. Yes.
Yep. You can customize the line color and line width.
Color.
Typically, routes are shown as blue always in our style, but you can make it a different color.
Red.
It can make it whatever color, yep. You can make it red, and then obviously it changes when we bring in traffic as well.
And I know lane width, is everything correctly? Yeah.
Let's put a
number. I think it's width.
It's width, yeah.
5.
Five.
A number like that.
That sounds like a good number.
Yeah. And that's it. I think that's it.
I think that's it. We have the style. Should be drawing the route.
Yeah, we have the color and everything. Yeah, let's reload. Let's see how it goes. Let's see. I hope it does not explode. So we have
explode inward.
A to B, create the route. Voila! Wow, what's that the same? Immediately.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have a route.
Okay.
This is a normal, by the defaults. We have a car starting now. We have data.
Yeah. And by default, we're not bringing in traffic, right? By default, it doesn't go according to traffic.
Actually, it does.
Oh.
But the default is including traffic information. Yeah, that means this distance in the summary.
You can switch it off, though. That's the fun part. That the
you
route
can,
does
you
optimize.
can switch it off, yeah.
You can switch it off, but That's part of how the A-star algorithm is working, is that it's sort of, it plays into the basic concept of like object avoidance, right? At a mathematical level. So we're avoiding congested areas and actually drawing the route without it in the first place, as opposed to showing alternate routes, since this is just a basic baby route setup.
Correct. And this distance in meters representing the route, and the traffic delay in seconds and the traffic time in seconds is also taken in consideration if we leave now.
Yeah.
With traffic information in the calculation.
Yeah. It's the traffic information now, as opposed to later we'll include historic traffic information.
Correct. So let's see. I'm gonna reload again because I want to create more markers. Let's see.
Yeah, we want more stops, so we want to do a multi-stop path.
Okay.
Maybe.
Do we? Ahead. Voila!
Oh no.
Yes, oh yes.
We're driving in a circle. Oh, there we go.
But it works.
Completed. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, I think you picked Lisboa because we were going to go to Lisboa.
Yeah.
Before this whole incident.
Yes, before.
We're all dreaming of Lisbon.
I'm still dreaming of Lisboa. Yeah.
Yeah.
We go to Lisboa.
That was a loss, but hey, it's worth it.
Yeah. Now, let's do something different now. How about we change that instead of cars, let's do a pedestrian route.
Yes.
Like, how do we do that? Like, how would we do it?
Well, we're not taking into account the same type of road data, right?
What do you mean? Of course.
Well, in terms of, well, pedestrians aren't driving on the road, but at the same time, we're using road data because we still have to route them from point A to point B if you're walking.
Correct. We would, of course, in pedestrian, traffic information is not taken into consideration. Restrictions of speed or any other or restrictions in general is not taken into consideration. It's just if there is a way for a human being to walk around the street light, it will be displayed. How about that? So the only thing that I think is very simple we have to do is just in the options, you just have to send the travel mode.
Yeah.
Travel mode.
And like we covered, you can have a travel mode that's anything from a taxi to a bicycle to a motorbike, and so we're never just setting it manually to be pedestrian.
Yeah, pedestrian. Let's see how it goes. And let's see again. You know what? Let's change the city for what? Let's go to someplace else.
We're gonna go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Where would you like to go?
Let's go to Dublin.
Oh, up there. Oh, oops. Yeah, markers.
We have to clear the markers, or else we're gonna have to walk from Dublin to.
Fast. Okay. So we're in Dublin. Let's see if I want to walk from here to here. Clear the route. That is not exciting.
Oh, we have a day one viewer. Well, day one viewer, we're walking in Dublin. We're mapping pedestrian routes in Dublin. Wow. Look at us, we have fans.
Hey. Okay, that one is not, okay, first let me just check quickly something here. When I click here, you see I have the lat and long of Dublin, right? Yeah, I have the lat and long in Dublin. I want to go to the code, and I want to add Dublin to the list before I forget. It's an object has, and when we create the map, where is it? Here, not Lisboa. Let's go to Dublin.
And that way we have a center point to start
yes,
from.
so I don't have to fly all over all the time.
So we don't have to retrieve the lat and long every time. We can just change the center very easily, which is like a good code practice.
Yeah. So let's walk from here.
Let's walk
to here, to here, to there. That's a long route. Let's clear the
That's
route.
a long way. I don't know if that's even. Well, it's probably not that far.
It's not too bad. Yes, and you can see details.
Do we also talk about how long it would take this fictional person to walk this far?
Well, it should be in the summary. This fictional person will have to walk 7.3 kilometers and 5 6,320 seconds. That's a lot of seconds.
But that's a lot of seconds.
Yeah.
That's a pretty serious walk.
Yeah.
That's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Shall we display those values?
Let's do it. Let's display the values. Let's display just how far this person is walking in Dublin.
Yeah. Let's display the length in meters. Okay?
Yep. And I'll talk about toward the later part of the stream when we do reachable range. We have to do sort of a conversion of, miles per gallon or miles per hour back to kilometers and meters because since we're Dutch and the code is also based in metric, we have everything displayed in meters, kilometers, and things like that. So you have to reconvert if it's not intuitive to you, which is its own science.
Yeah.
Going from imperial to metric and back.
So I have your root data here. Let me just put this. So the object I just created is a little div. So I think it was called distance. So document. We're going purist.
As we can show the total distance walked.
Yeah. Distance it was called. Distance. How do you set the value? I think it's called inner HTML. If I am not wrong. So
inner HTML.
There it is. HTML.
Yep.
And then we can say total distance, and then we add the value, which is we have to check. Where's the value?
We have to check the value. Yep.
Yep.
You have to pull the value.
Correct. The value is in the roots, the first root, summary, length in meters.
Yep.
So the results, which is root data, is the roots, first value, summary, and then length in meters. I'm totally winging it. Let's see if it works.
But then we'll get the meter length. Obviously, it'd have to be converted if you wanted to kilometers or if we wanted to customize and display miles, but we'll get total meters.
Yeah, but it's miles, right, summary. Yeah, cool.
Cool. Okay, so let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. So I want to walk.
Go and freestyle some route data.
Yeah. There it is. 2.6666 meters. Where's the map?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
We lost the map.
We lost the map.
We couldn't route our way to the map.
Yeah.
We have to find the map.
We have to find the map now.
Did we time out the key? No, I don't think we timed out the key.
No,
oh no, the map should be coming back. There we go.
Map is there.
Map is there.
It's just probably I did something bad adding this manually like so. Probably.
As per usual.
Yeah. Yeah. The distance edit. Just
yeah.
Maybe the diff is not very nice to do it like that. So we have this one to go to standard result maybe I have to put it like so. Do the ID product. So
I see your diff there. Yeah.
Oh, something is there. That's not correct. Something is flying there. Left there. What's left there?
Oh, I see.
How did this happen?
Oh, it's an extra.
Yeah.
It's an extra caret.
Yeah.
We have to open. Yeah, open and close.
Let's see. There it is.
Cool.
How about that?
There we go. It's
now,
always the small bugs.
Yes. Indeed. We can try to do it as for a truck. Let's say
Yeah,
for a
we
truck,
can do for a truck. Yep.
and how a truck will do and avoid certain areas, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Let's see.
And then later on, the truck also burns more fuel when we go to reachable range because the truck has a smaller reachable range than a car. I mean, it's not the same obviously for pedestrian, but it has a different fuel consumption rate too, which factors into the routing.
True. We can say, okay, travel mode is truck. And we can say, you're a truck. We can say, okay, you're a truck, but you should avoid motorways.
Yeah. So truck, basically it's avoiding freeway travel. So maybe it's carrying a heavy load, doesn't want to go on the freeway, or wants to avoid all the freeway traffic just in general on its own time.
Although if you're a truck, if you carry something, you probably are also, by law, you have to use the highways. But okay, let's go ahead.
In this fictional universe where we don't want to use the highways as a truck, can we make different types of routes with different colors? Yeah, I suppose you can. You can customize the different route types if you wanted to in your own CES.
Green.
Yeah,
And
you can easily change the color.
Let's see a thicker line, and I think we can also do the line. Remember doing the line dash thing? I don't know if it works.
Let's do green. Is it green?
Green.
Let's do green.
Green. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay, and then at the same time, so two different routes for two different types of things. I mean, you absolutely can. Right now, what we're doing is the routing basically for one type at a time. So that's the easiest to set for new to routing, but you can make more than one route appear.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Different colors. Yeah, you can. Oh, we didn't like it. We didn't like green. Oh, no.
You didn't like my dash probably. Wait, it's okay, no problem. So let's try this.
Oh, we didn't like the dash. Okay.
Yeah. Didn't like the dash. Yeah. So here's the route. Voila. So this is a truck avoiding the highway, which is I assume is this one.
Illegally avoiding the highway.
Yeah, I assume it's this one. Although we could, we can create a better route.
Yeah.
Let's go farther away. So,
I suppose you could also route different types of different potential routes at the same time with different colors if you wanted to.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and that's probably the easiest way to have a different color route appear at the same time. And that way, say it's the same thing. Like if you're trying to take, one of three different potential ways to get to your destination, you'd be able to see them in different colors if you were creating your own app. Very much using the same things that we're doing here. To answer the chat question.
Correct. So, for example, in this case, the route is avoiding the main highways. Which would be so good. Yeah.
I don't know if your truck would even fit on the surface streets that easily.
I'm sure it won't.
They won't fit. That's not good.
But I have a nice example, an example before we continue, and it is that we can, in the route part of the route options, we can set that the truck is carrying a specific type of cargo.
Yeah, we can do a hazardous load.
Like hazmat class, for example, and
because that can affect as well.
Correct, and also sometimes there are in the European or in the US there is also the restriction code, the tunnel restriction codes as well. For the ADR.
Oh, is it for height or for hazard? Well, if we
not only that, depending on the code, it says okay, it's certain heights or certain, for example, explosives should not go in this highway. Or
yeah, we have that. We have that too. I feel like it's less frequently seen, but I think some of them are not allowed to drive by certain areas, like certain maybe development areas or like construction sites. I want to say. I don't know. You know what I mean? If you wouldn't drive by. If you have a hazardous material, but that's not always often mapped. So that's the interesting part, is to be actually able to map that when you route your truck, to be able to say, oh, it'll take that into account when the algorithm is running the route.
So I have a copy from the developer portal, the TomTom developer.tomtom.com. This is a sample, for example.
Oh, it has that class 1.
Yeah, that means explosive. That means this is a truck that carrying explosive, and he cannot go in this restriction to type B, for example. And let's see how the route will change a little bit.
So it's basically an episode of 24, but we're mapping it.
Yes. Oh, is that the case? We should go through LA then.
Oh no.
Well, you said it.
But I mean, yeah, I was trying to think of an episode where we'd a show where we'd be driving a truck with explosives, and I thought of 24 for some reason first.
Well, let's
So
say,
I guess we're going
let's
to LA
say-
now, and we're going to map it
Let's
in
go
LA.
from New Hell to Laguna, and let's create a route for this, a hazardous, and this will be like
Disclaimer: we don't recommend driving hazardous materials through places where you shouldn't, but we're just mapping them.
correct. Huh?
Okay.
Oh, this is a good. Let me check if it's a good example because
When it's using the highways, which it actually would be doing.
yeah, normally what you're doing, but
Because we wouldn't actually be avoiding motorways or freeways.
yeah, sometimes yeah.
If you're driving, because you want to drive straight there, so that makes sense.
But I would like to check. Sometimes you are for example,
So speed.
yeah, like in this case, a shorter route probably should be going in this way. This way. But this is another type of highway. This is a highway 170, and probably it's not allowed to go through this route, to this highway.
Yeah.
So it goes through the I-90 something, the interstate.
Yeah, it would travel on the interstate as opposed to traveling through a
the
small
other
highway.
highways, which is not supposed to go. Yeah. For example.
In case you're ever wondering how Zay and I prepared for this, we also considered mapping the places, all the cities in World War Z. Like, if you've ever seen World War Z, we considered mapping each city where they visit. We did the 24 edition anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's.
Can we map Brad Pitt? I wish we could map Brad Pitt. That would be very cool. I would be very into that. Could just map an outline of Brad Pitt. I don't know. I don't know if we could do that. You'd have to manually set all the waypoints of Brad Pitt. That sounds like too much work, even for Brad Pitt.
Let's see. Let's see if we can do this. If you go for a face.
Can we map? We're gonna map a face apparently.
How many points can we actually have? Oh,
that's a circle. That's not.
This is a very complex route. It took less than 1 second for a truck.
It has like you go around the block a few times too.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense because you have to double back so many times.
Yes, you have to double back sometimes. You cannot go through this special. For example, you cannot go through these bridges. Usually.
Yeah.
You cannot go. Yeah, that's normal.
But now that we've displayed, we could do Mickey Mouse. We do Mickey Mouse. We do Mickey Mouse ears. It's a chat request. I don't know.
Let's see.
Making Jose place all these waypoints.
Challenge accepted. Well, I mean, I'm sure there should be a limit of how many waypoints can we have, right?
I think there is a limit. I think there is a concrete limit, but
I'm not so sure.
Want to see what great of a map artist Jose is? Ooh, predictions on how good of a map artist Jose is. I'd be skeptical.
I'm gonna break the root engine.
Okay, so that kind of looks like Mickey Mouse. I'll give you that.
Kinda.
7 out of 10. In the chat, how good is it? I'd say 7 out of 10. His ears are kind of, they look wrong, but it's also a route. We have to drive somewhere. Indeed. Looks like Pikachu. It does look like Pikachu. I agree. It looks more like a Pikachu.
A Pikachu.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely Pikachu.
Should change the route to be yellow then.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. Anyway. That was it for today.
Well, the second part is that we're going to look at reachable range really quickly.
Yeah.
We can just go ahead and go to the I had like a really quick there's like a really quick slide that just breaks down the reachable range conversion, and then we'll just wrap up with a really quick example. So this is, if you're wondering about consumption models, you basically have to do a little bit of conversion because consumption metric is measured in liters right, as opposed to the gallons of fuel that we use, and we're also measuring consumption in liters per 100 kilometers as opposed to miles per gallon.
Yeah.
And the thing about this is that the more liters that you burn, obviously the less optimal amount of distance you use per liter, which means that an increase of liters consumed per 100 kilometers leads to a decrease in miles per gallon. And so that number interchange freaks people out a little bit. But that's something I did sort of basic math on saying, hey, if we're going 75 kilometers per hour and using 8 liters of consumption per 100 kilometers, that's like having a 29 mile per gallon consumption rate going 46 miles per hour. So just to keep in your head for somebody like me who is used to Imperial. Yeah, I know there's lots of math going on here. The recording will be up. You can take your time, make your peace with the math like I had to do. I understand. And then we'll go to reachable range and I'll do a little bit on what that actually means in Imperial too.
So let me just check. Oh, I can show you the demo. Yeah. So yeah, so
range
just
quick.
to summarize, our APIs is metrics. It's all metrics.
Yeah, APIs is all in metrics. So any other
liters.
Yeah, it's liters.
And then
going from miles per gallon, you'd have to convert yourself.
Yeah, but we do have in the developer portal an article about it.
Yeah.
That explain the conversion, how to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about it now, but it's better to read it out a little bit.
Indeed. Yeah. So this is a sample, one of the many samples that we have in the portal, also for the web SDK, in our web SDK. What does it do? Oh, yes.
So basically, if you were to run the API Explorer, what would happen is that if you were to put your origin point, you'd be able to put in your fuel consumption, things like that. You would get sort of a bunch of different points that all fall along the road within however long it would take you to drive there that would use up the fuel that you've budgeted for the trip, right? So you get a long list of points that are within your driving range, right? And same thing for EV, you'd get a whole long list of points that are within the range that would take down your battery. So for example, if we did 75 kilometers per hour here, and in 8-liter consumption, like I had an example.
Okay, we say that this auto, when it goes at 75 kilometers per hour, it consumes 8 liters.
Yeah.
Every liters, 100 kilometers.
Every 100 kilometers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we want to do a fuel budget of, let's do a fuel budget of 20 liters. So that's roughly like a third of a tank, actually.
Okay. And that's it?
That's it. And then we'll see exactly how far we could drive. And
that looks big. That Yeah, Netherlands.
That's small.
Small country. We like it
Texas. That way. But that's good. So you could get, in 20 liters of fuel, you can actually drive pretty far, and then also showing fuel stations. And that's sort of the main just cap of the example. And you could add different rows, which means you could add different options. We'll run into an error if we, of course, use up too much of our fictional fuel in the scenario. But say if we do also half that, we have a very small amount of gas left, then that's how far you could drive. And that's basically your reachable range, is how far you could drive without filling up for gas. Even though we show gas stations there, it's not plotting it along a point of saying, oh, you'd have to fill up before you get to this point. That's how far you could drive without stopping.
And let's say I consume a lot. More than that.
Assume you drive a really old car.
Yeah.
And you're going to consume a lot of fuel. That's actually, there you go. And so it gets smaller then.
Got it. Cool. So this is in the developer, in the sample section. Look here, in the samples for web.
Yeah, and that's an example that you can play around with. And sometimes it's fun to be able to play around with those before you go into code so you understand the visuals of what you're doing. And that's fun. And that's where we pulled this from.
The reachable range.
That's, I guess, our basic primer on reachable range and routing and directions. Where can I get my promo code? So we have in the ticker this whole time, the bit.ly that's linked there is what you can click on to get your promo code. Or if you just scroll down the page, you'll see the link right at the top too, right above the TomTom logo, of where you can register. And you can also get all the resources we had and we used in this stream, and then also gives you a promo code for more API transactions. Mm-hmm. And that's the fun part, so you can keep coding.
Cool. And cool. I think that was our end.
That's about it. So we'll, if there are any more questions, any other questions, when the next show. So every other Tuesday, free APIs. Yes, you get free API transactions. So that way there's you get an extension of the limit of your daily transactions. The next one is the Tuesday after next. So it's every other Tuesday. That's when we'll be live at the same time. Cool stuff. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much for happy